I've thought about this for several years and never really had a platform to talk about it. But, you know, we talk about, and you and I did a special broadcast. It was great on Good Friday. That was received very well, thankfully. Thank you guys out there for your comments and everything. But, you know, we had Good Friday, we had Easter, and there's never a better time to talk about the Lord and the sacrifice and what he did for us, and to celebrate that victory on Easter. We were all packed in church yesterday, and that's great. We're all in for that weekend. But the last couple of years, it's really been on my mind and my heart. But, you know, what do we do on the Monday after Easter?
Yeah.
What do we do on the Tuesday after Easter? What do we do 6 weeks outside of Easter? We can't lose that meaning in our lives because, and I'm going to end it with this, Jesus didn't rise from the grave for us to just put him back in it after we celebrate Easter, right?
Yeah.
The stone, don't roll the stone back over your life when Easter is in your rearview mirror. For it to really mean something, you have to carry it with you every single day of the year. What would happen in our world if we could take that joy that we all felt Sunday morning and take it with us into Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and every day after that?
Yep.
Something to think about. And so that's our final word today that I wanted to share.
It's good stuff.
Anything from a pastor perspective on that?
No, you know, you always see people that, you know, you're only going to see at certain times. I saw a joke that said, what was it? Couple arrives at church on Easter Sunday, surprised at what sanctuary looks like without Christmas decorations. And so I know that there's obviously, you're going to have folks like that, and that's fine. I'm glad they're in church whenever they come. But that's one of the reasons we do services every night, you know, and they're not just straight up worship services. You know, we had a prayer service, we had a scripture reading experience, we had Lord's Supper. Obviously Friday night was focused on the cross. We want Easter week to be a week of spiritual renewal so that the days following, maybe you've got a different perspective on things. Maybe you know, Easter wasn't the end of it. Maybe Easter was a new beginning for you. That's kind of how I like to view it sometimes. And I think it's funny, you know, you grew up Baptist culture, right? You know, we're kind of big on, and not so much anymore, but back in the day, we're big on, we need to have a revival, right? You know, we need to have a revival. And we know what we meant. We meant an event with a tent and you bring in a preacher and blah, blah, blah. We can't create revival. That's up to the Spirit of God. It's our job to have the sails ready, so to speak, so that when the Spirit blows and moves, we move with him. But we can't create it. And so we try, and it kind of, I love doing this every Easter week, because when someone brings up that we need to have a revival, I'm like, what do you think we do every Easter? You know, what do we do we have a whole week where you come up to the church, and we didn't bring in a preacher and we didn't have a tent, but still, you know, and so I'm anxious to see, you know, we have church tonight. We'll get back together Sunday. I'm anxious to see what fruit we kind of see from it, because, you know, in the perfect world, you get all these responses, right? And all these people come forward and they pray on the altar and they get baptized and then they start coming to church every single week. We know it doesn't work that way a lot of times. We know that our responses are slow. Seeds are planted. They take a while to grow. And so I'm just anxious to see what kind of fruit we're going to see. But you're exactly right. Easter should not be the end, and we shouldn't close a chapter on that book. Easter should have opened a new chapter for all of us.
That's right. Yeah, and that's what I said, and I liked your sales analogy to it. It's just like we're so grateful that the stone was rolled away, and then too many times, 24 hours later, we've practically rolled it back over the entrance, you know, and shut it up until next year. And I just wanted to encourage everyone out there. to don't do that. You know, as
Yeah.
Matt said, keep your sales up so your ship can sail.
Yeah.
Don't bring the sales down just because it's Monday and Easter is gone until next year. So that's
Yeah.
anyway, that's a final word today that we both wanted to share.